There's a room in my town no one admits exists. Every town has its secrets. Ours isn't the kind you find in history books or whispered about by old men on porches. It's something quieter, something everyone knows but pretends not to. At the far end of Main Street, tucked between the old post office and the pharmacy, there's a door. It's painted the same bland beige as the building beside it, so ordinary you'd miss it if you didn't know where to look. No nameplate, no handle, just a blank metal frame that leads into nothing. People walk by it every day, carrying groceries or chatting on their phones, and not one of them will ever mention it. Not to their kids, not to their neighbors. Especially not to outsiders. Because we all know, behind that door is the room no one admits exists. I first heard about it as a kid, not from my parents, but from a friend's older brother who swore he'd seen inside. He told us that the door opens only at night, and only if you're standing in front of it alone. He said the room is empty, just 4 walls and a floor, but if you stand there long enough, you start to hear things. A voice at first, whispering your name. Then footsteps, pacing just out of sight. And if you don't leave, if you stay until the footsteps stop, something new appears in the room, a chair, carved wood with leather straps on the arms. Nobody knows what happens if you sit in it. Nobody who's sat has ever come back to tell. By the time I was in high school, the story had turned into a sort of dare. You'd hear kids joke about it at parties, swearing they'd go to the door at midnight and prove it was just a stupid legend. The funny thing is, no one ever followed through. They'd march down Main Street, laughing and shoving each other, but when they reached the stretch of sidewalk by the pharmacy, the laughter always died. The street got quiet. The air felt heavier, colder, as though the world itself was warning them away. I saw it happen more than once, kids who'd been screaming and daring each other to knock on the blank metal door suddenly finding an excuse to turn around. Nobody ever actually touched it. Nobody wanted to be the first. But things changed last winter. One night, a boy named Matt didn't show up for school the next morning. People said he'd run away, but I knew better. The night before, I'd seen him walking down Main Street, his breath puffing white in the freezing air. He was alone. He walked right up to the space between the post office and pharmacy, and then, just like that, he was gone. I blinked, and where he'd been standing was only the blank metal door, faintly open, a sliver of darkness yawning behind it. I told myself it was a trick of the light, that maybe he'd ducked into an alley. But then I noticed something else, the door wasn't flush with the wall anymore. It was ajar, just enough for me to see the blackness inside. Since then, I've been unable to stop thinking about it. The door, the room, the chair. It gnaws at me, the way unsolved puzzles do. Sometimes when I'm walking home at night, I catch myself slowing down near the pharmacy, pretending I've dropped something or that I'm checking my phone, all just to steal a glance at that stretch of beige wall. And every so often, God help me, I think I see the outline of a handprint on the metal. Just the faintest impression, as though someone pressed their palm hard against it from the inside, trying to push their way out. People in town have started acting strange since Matt disappeared. They don't talk about him, don't put up missing posters, don't even whisper his name anymore. It's like he never existed. And maybe that's the worst part. Because now, when I walk past the post office, I swear the door seems closer than it used to be. Like the building is shifting, adjusting itself, closing the gap between the ordinary and the impossible. Last week, I even dreamed about it. I was standing inside the room, staring at the chair, and in the dark I could hear Matt's voice whispering my name over and over, begging me to sit. When I woke up, I could still feel leather straps brushing against my wrists. The thing is, I don't think the room waits forever. I think it chooses. It called to Matt, and he answered. And now I think it's calling me. Every night I walk past, the air feels colder, the silence deeper, until the whole world seems to hush around me, holding its breath. Last night, I thought I saw the door shift, just slightly, like it was breathing. And for the first time, I felt the overwhelming urge to reach out, to pull it open, to step inside and see if the stories are true. No one admits the room exists, but I can feel the truth pressing closer every day. And sooner or later, the door won't wait for me to knock. It'll open on its own. And when it does, I'm afraid I already know where I'll end up, strapped into that chair, whispering my name until the room finds someone else. The nights after that discovery changed for me. I couldn't sleep without feeling that the town itself was listening, as though the bricks and old lampposts bent their heads together and whispered secrets I wasn't supposed to know. The room wasn't just a place, it was a hunger, and once you learned about it, it didn't let you go. I would walk past the square, and though the building looked as plain and solid as always, I'd feel the air bending around it, pulling at me like a tide. Sometimes, I swore I could hear the faint sound of a chair creaking when the wind died down, slow, rhythmic, like someone rocking back and forth in anticipation. The more I ignored it, the louder it became, echoing in my skull, until even the thought of silence was impossible. I began to dream about the room. At first, the dreams were simple. I'd see the door, a plain wooden thing with iron hinges, sitting alone in a hallway that shouldn't exist. Each time, I'd reach for the knob, my hand shaking, but before I could touch it, I'd wake drenched in sweat. Then the dreams grew darker. The door would open on its own, and I'd see the chair inside, waiting for me, straps hanging like limp arms ready to coil around my wrists and ankles. And in those dreams, I wasn't walking toward the chair. I was already sitting in it. My throat burned as though I'd been whispering for hours, repeating my own name until it lost all meaning, until it felt foreign and wrong, a sound scraped raw from a throat that wasn't even mine anymore. During the day, I tried to push it away, but the town wouldn't let me. People who never spoke about the room started looking at me differently, like they could tell I knew. They never said a word, just a flicker in their eyes, a pause in conversation, an almost imperceptible step back. It was like they'd already written me off, as though once the room chose you, everyone else could sense it. I'd sit in a diner and feel every conversation shift quieter when I entered, not because they were gossiping, but because they knew there was no point. I was already marked. Then the signs grew stronger. My reflection started to falter. In the mirror, I'd blink and for half a second, I'd see the chair behind me, the straps dangling over my shoulders. Other times, my mouth would move a fraction slower than my words, shaping my name over and over again even when I wasn't speaking. The whisper followed me everywhere, in the hum of power lines, in the rustle of leaves, in the static between radio stations. Always the same word. Always my name. I stopped answering calls, stopped talking to friends, stopped looking in mirrors. Nothing helped. Last night was the closest yet. I woke at 3:17 a.m., every light in my house flickering at once, the shadows stretching across the floor like they were reaching for me. And there it was, the sound of the door opening. Not in my dream, not in my imagination. I heard it, slow and deliberate, the iron hinges groaning like they hadn't been moved in centuries. The smell of dust and damp wood rolled into my bedroom, and I knew the door wasn't in some forgotten hallway anymore. It was here, in my house, just out of sight. I couldn't bring myself to look. I lay frozen, listening to the creak of leather straps tightening, one by one, pulling taut as though fastening themselves around a body that wasn't yet there. I don't know how much longer I can resist. The room doesn't just wait, it comes. And every night it grows bolder, slipping closer into my world. I can feel the floorboards trembling under its weight now, like it's moving through the walls. And when the door finally swings open in full daylight, when I see the chair waiting just a few feet from me, I don't think I'll have the strength to turn away. Because once the room knows your name, it doesn't stop until it hears you whisper it back, forever. The truth is, I think the room has already won. I catch myself whispering when I don't mean to, like some part of me is practicing for what's coming. I'll be brushing my teeth, and when I glance up, the foam around my mouth is moving in shapes that match my name. I'll be walking down the street and realize my lips are forming the word without a sound, mouthing it like prayer, like ritual. It doesn't feel like I'm saying my name anymore, it feels like my name is saying me, dragging me along as if I belong more to it than to myself. The boundaries of who I am are blurring, becoming thin and brittle, and the room presses harder every night, widening the cracks. The house isn't safe anymore. Doors that I lock rattle themselves loose, windows that should stay shut swing inward as though the air outside is trying to creep in. Sometimes, I wake up standing at the front door with my hand already on the knob, the night air cold and waiting beyond it. And every time, I know exactly where I was about to go, straight to the square, straight to that building, straight to the door I swore I'd never touch. My body doesn't feel entirely mine. It's as if the room is rehearsing me, moving me like a puppet, making sure that when the final moment comes, I won't hesitate. I've begun to notice people watching my house. Not neighbors, not anyone I recognize, just figures standing at the edge of the street in the blue dark hours before dawn. They never come closer. They just stand there, silent, hands tucked into their coats, their faces hidden by shadow. I can feel their eyes on me even when I draw the curtains. And sometimes, only sometimes, I see their lips moving too, whispering along with me, repeating my name in unison like a chorus. It chills me to the bone because it makes me wonder if every person in this town once sat in the chair, whispering their own name until the room had no use for them. Maybe they've been emptied out, hollowed into watchers, guardians of the secret. Maybe that's all that's left of them. The line between my home and that place is almost gone now. Last night, I woke up strapped into the chair, the leather biting into my wrists, the iron frame cold against my spine. I screamed, or I thought I did, but the sound never made it past my lips. All that came out was my name, again, and again, and again, my voice hoarse and weak like I'd been at it for hours. I could see shapes gathered at the edges of the room, faceless in the shadows, leaning closer every time I whispered. But the strangest thing was how natural it felt, how right. The fear was there, yes, but under it was a terrible comfort, like I had finally come home. And then, just as suddenly, I was in my bed again, sweating, gasping, the marks of the straps still red and raw on my skin. I don't know if this is a haunting, or a curse, or something deeper, something older that was never meant to be named. But I know this, the room is patient. It doesn't rush. It doesn't need to. Every whisper wears me thinner, every night it draws me closer, and soon there won't be any fight left in me. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the chair doesn't just take you, it waits until you're willing to sit down. And I think I am. Because when the room calls now, it doesn't sound like a threat. It sounds like relief. Like the end of a long struggle I've already lost. I can hear the creak of the chair every time I blink, louder than the beat of my own heart. I can smell the wood and dust filling my lungs. And I know that the next time the door opens, I won't resist. I'll step through, sit down, and let the straps pull tight. And then I'll whisper my name, over and over, until there's nothing left of me, until the room is ready to choose someone new.